Happy New Year and welcome to the first edition of the 2025 Future Ready Live, where we talk about topics that will help CPAs, CGMAs, and their organizations prepare to adapt and thrive in a fast changing world. I'm your host, Tom Hood, the EVP of Business Engagement and Growth at the AICPA and CIMA, the largest global body of professional certified accountants in the world. Today, we're going to be talking about insights from our fourth Future of Finance Summit that wrapped up in mid-December from San Diego, California. And joining me is my wingman, Barry Payne, who's been instrumental in building this Future of Finance community and all things related to our Future of Finance Leadership Advisory Group. He's the Director of External Relations for the Americas region of the AICPA and CIMA. He co-leads our Future of Finance initiative and our Future of Finance Leadership Advisory Group. He also plans the finance track at Engage and the CFO conference for us at the AICPA and CIMA. Welcome, Barry Payne.
Tom, hi, and Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year to you. So, the summit was incredible, but let's start with the story of this year's Future Finance Summit that we just wrapped up. Talk about like how we got there, what was the big theme, and just give us some of that overall insights.
Well, we have an advisory group that meets every couple of months, Tom, throughout the year, and they form the basis of the agenda for the summit that we had over the last 4 years, but this one particularly last month in San Diego, and the big themes centered around things like talent, AI and digital, leadership. I was very curious around culture, and I think we did some brilliant things at our summit around culture. And as a result, we managed to get many of these members there, as well as roughly about 170 other participants in San Diego last month for summit.
It was incredible. And like always, we usually center our stuff around the top themes that the group gives us when we poll them. And so this year we opened the summit with a poll, and it moved around a little bit this time, right? So the top 5, as I saw them, were the need for new skills, AKA the T-shaped professional. That popped up to number 1. I think it was down around number 3 or 4. Yeah. Gen AI number 2, which it was last year. Accelerated digital transformation moved down to number 3 from number 1. And innovation and growth rose up, which was a little bit surprising, but I think it has to do with the surge in optimism that we saw in our fourth quarter economic outlook survey. 67% optimistic when we polled the group in San Diego, and that's up from 41% from the prior quarter pre-election, interestingly enough. Number 5 was finding and retaining talent, which moved down 1 from number 4. So it was kind of interesting how they moved around. Any thoughts about that?
Well, I think it's the realization now with the increasing use and availability of things like AI and Gen AI, that I think CFOs and finance leaders are really now seriously considering the skills implications. Yeah, I think, last year and moving up to summit, we were still trying to get our heads around the adoption of these technologies and what it meant to the evolution of finance. But now I think everyone is sitting back to understand, well, how does this impact our operating model? How does this impact the way that we need talent to operate? How does this impact on the skills that we need for our people? So I'm delighted to see that skills are back at number 1.
Yeah, it was fascinating. And I think we've heard from the group, a lot of our future finance leaders are leading Gen AI in their organizations, not just in finance, but inside the whole org, right? We saw a couple of those. So let's segue to that, because that ties into the next piece, which gets to culture and leadership. So I know you were involved in running around with the mic and debriefing the group on Chris Dyer's keynote on the 7 pillars of corporate culture and leadership. So tell us a little bit about the insights you got as you were running the mic around the room and they were reporting out.
Yeah, as I said a minute ago, culture was one of the things that we wanted to focus on at Summit. And for those of you that have met Chris Dyer, he's absolutely fantastic as a leadership coach in building cultures of high performance. And, we had a good morning as a group with him. We were able to go deep into some of what he calls his 7 pillars. And the ones that we went deep into were around, I think, key cultural considerations like transparency, like recognition. And the one that I really enjoyed, and we had fantastic tabletop discussions and fantastic vulnerable debates about this, was how we were able to make mistakes appropriately and successfully. Yeah. And the one thing that stood out for me, Tom, is not that one size fits all, but culture is very personal. And one size actually fits one. I very much encourage people to pick up Chris Dyer's book on the 7 pillars of corporate culture and leadership. It's a fantastic session.
Yep. I got my book as well. That's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to reading that over the break. And then we, had a whole bunch of sessions from our future finance leadership group on their experiences with transformation and talent, right? So tell us a little bit about those. I think we had several.
We did. I mean, from amazing companies like from Lowe's to Mondelez, Franklin Templeton, World Bank. I want to point out Lindsay's session from Franklin Templeton. She's the Chief Accounting Officer there because she presented a session on the power of integrated teams. Now, a lot of the organizations that we're working with have captive or outsourced shared service or global business services operations. And the whole session was around maximizing the team culture and the unified direction of organizations that are distributed worldwide and career development paths as well. And also, and this is interesting, Tom, that you'll recognize this from someone, a lot of discussion about the evolution of the controllership role and how aligned it is potentially with the likes of FP&A, and how those organizations really could sit under a similar umbrella. You remember the term, the Great Join?
Yeah.
So that was talked about a lot in terms of organizational design, particularly around FP&A and controllership, but also creating, a high impact culture where you've got kind of distributed regional operations. In their case, Poland and India.
Yeah, that's an interesting, right? So the segue to that is they're becoming integrated, as you said, and becoming like centers of excellence. So they're going away from just cost arbitrage to a more value added notion, like we've seen the emergence of how the CFO is going. So it's lockstep with the emergence of the CFO, right, as a strategic finance business partner.
Absolutely.
Which means new skills, no surprise. And then we had Roger Kenyana from Lowe's talking about his talent development journey there, which you and I assisted with a keynote to his finance team. And sure enough, he mentioned the whole T-shaped professional in his keynote. That was pretty wild. So talk a little bit about that. Talk about that T.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting because out of this summit, we have some amazing outside in opinion that we've convened. And then we can go into organizations and debrief them on the waves of transformation that we're all facing. And key to that is this construct that the group came up with called the T-shaped finance professional, where the vertical part of the T are the functional skills that you kind of need, to do your job across the whole, P&L balance sheet, plus, an increasing level of tech and digital savviness. But it's the horizontal part of the T that I think everyone's interested in. And those are the human skills that allow you to affect decision-making better, from anticipation to storytelling to communication to a certain level of agility in the way that you operate. And we went in to Lowe's, as you say, and we presented that. And that's opened up a whole range of different things that they want to do. Believe you me, they are very advanced in what they are doing. Their approach to technology, their business immersion programs are second to none, Tom, in terms of developing and driving business acumen. And, you may well find Roger at his local store over Christmas. You go search him out. That's what they do. It's absolutely fantastic. They are so customer driven and delighted that they're taking the T-shaped professional.
It's exciting. And then there was Laszlo Coleman, the CFO of IBM, right? He did a session.
Yeah, got a lot of time for IBM's transformation journey, obviously, building capabilities. We do a lot of work with them on a global basis through the CGMA. What was very interesting there is he spent a lot of time talking about their approach to developing AI skills at scale.
Yeah.
And I think what was very interesting was how simple their learning programs were.
Yeah.
You know, and how they were just co-created and co-sourced from extracts here and there, including YouTube and, you know, nano learning and things like that. And then empowering people like Rachel did. Rachel Crump at Insight, where she created a Shark Tank contest, almost like a citizen development project around the world where people competed with each other to find ways in which they could use AI to better business decisions, create efficiencies. That was a fascinating session, Tom.
It really was. And we're going to be modeling after Rachel and having her help us do that for the association for our teams. So it's a real big keeper that we found out about. How about Mondelez? That was another one that you and I worked with, and they've been doing some really cool things in addition to bringing a whole bunch of snacks for the audience.
Yeah, it's funny when Carol was up on stage, I think that he was more concerned about his Oreos delivery than actually speaking at the time. But it was great. Seriously, we were eating Mondelez snacks whilst listening to Andre and Carol. And it's great working with CPG companies because they've got a brilliant insight on how to leverage financial performance indicators to inform strategic initiatives. And, you know, we talk through our Future of Finance 2.0 research about the expanding role of finance. They are a real epitome of how that finance role has expanded into really understanding the market, competitive data, benchmarking, how to bring that into informing financial performance and decision making. It was absolutely fascinating.
Incredible.
And then in the same room, Tom, we've got to talk about the World Bank.
Yes, number one session rated by the audience, right? Making decisions in uncertainty, in extreme uncertainty, I would add, with our friend Sam Mayambo, who's been a guest on this Future Ready Live before. So yeah, tell us about that.
Oh, he has. The audience were gasping. Well, one of the things I need to say about all of the speaking engagements at Summit, for those that didn't attend, is how interactive they are. So we use our polling technology, but there is tremendous facilitated peer-on-peer conversation. So Sam from the World Bank offered this question as a breakout session, and it completely stumped the audience. It was such a powerful thing. It took us to a completely different place. And it was, what would you do if you had to evacuate a retail location or an important location in the event of a crisis? You think about what the World Bank have to do with staff around the world. You think about the tensions that are going on around the world. Sometimes they actually have to evacuate staff. And it's not just a simple binary decision. It can be very, very emotional if you think about the repercussions of it.
Yeah.
And you know what the audience did is they really lent into this, Tom. And they could really see the more that they kind of got into the conversation, the more they realized how applicable this notion was for them. They just had to think about it into a different context, really think about the risk management and the uncertainty of it all. Quite rightly, Tom, Sam got a 10 out of 10. He was absolutely phenomenal. Just took us to a completely different place.
Yeah, it was incredible. And then we had our friends from Gartner, Alex Bant and Mallory Bullman, along with Glenn Hopper and Don Tomoff.
Yep.
So kind of a flyover of all the latest trends and research that Gartner's been doing on AI and finance. Incredible. And then some hands-on, if you will, techniques and tips from Glenn Hopper, who just finished writing a book that he gave to all the attendees.
That's right.
Right, AI for Finance. And then obviously Don Tomoff, who's been a regular on this show as well. And that was incredible. And it's funny because Alex and Mallory did a recap of day one, video recap. Did you see that on LinkedIn? It was incredible. And they were amazed at how interactive it was. And obviously that really impressed them, because they don't get to do that at Gartner as much because it's such a big venue.
Yeah.
But it was something that they were really leaning into. It was kind of cool.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're so thrilled to be able to partner with Gartner, as well as all of our thought leader partners and our sponsors. You know, a big shout out to them.
Yep, it was incredible. Let's go. So last piece is, we did cover AI, but we've been covering that regularly on LinkedIn and in our Future Finance group. We'll put a link to one of the most recent white papers in there. But what else do you think, lessons from this year that will guide our future initiatives?
Well, I think that the level of community was just infectious. Yeah. And, you know, one of the things that we want to continue to do, which we're doing through Future Live, through supporting our members and beyond, is to try and expand and develop that community on a more broader basis. You know, we want to keep the actual event, the summit, fairly intimate. So we want to find ways in which we could expand that out. The other thing that is a challenge for every event, but I think it's magnified with ours, Tom, is everyone comes out of that Friday feeling like they're on top of the world and like they want to, like, you know, they've got their first, you know, few actions that they want to take back to the office. Those are facilitated, by the way, through an amazing grid that we complete. But then there's always the risk that after Christmas, it all falls down by the wayside. So what we do is a little bit like how we talked about Lowe's. We will go in and we will help facilitate a conversation with their companies so their energy can, you know, be carried over to the energy of their organizations where they are on the transformation journey. We'll continue with our Future Finance Leadership Advisory Group meetings. We've got a debrief in January. We'll be looking to see what thought leadership that we want to focus on. And also, would you believe it, starting to plan the 2025 summit. I mean, we've only just got into 2025, but yes, December the 10th to December the 12th. Yes, the 2025 summit will be held in Denver, Colorado this year. So, yeah.
At the Gaylord Rockies. So we'll drop a little link in there for people. But yeah, it was an incredible. The other piece we covered as our apprenticeship programs. We had a great update.
Oh, the Talent Aperture, fabulous. Yeah.
Liberty Bank, the apprenticeship award winners of the year for our work. But we had also ARP was there talking about some of the new grants they're working with us on for bringing people back to work and from other disciplines into finance quickly. The military, all those areas are ways we can get more finance talent for us in this profession. So look for all this more on our Future Ready Live and on LinkedIn. Thank you guys for being here. You can find Barry on LinkedIn, Barry Payne, Payne. He already talked about our 5th summit, December 10th to 12th next year. And I want to thank everybody for joining us in this first of the new year's Future Ready Live. And you can reach us on the 1st and 3rd Tuesday of each month at noon Eastern. We'll see you then. Thank you.